Hi everybody, welcome back to HobTech Cars. Today I'm going to talk a little bit more about my Celica Gen7 project. I have some updates on the car from work that I've done on it, and I want to share those with you today. Thanks very much for watching the first part in this series and for your feedback that some of you gave me. I've put a lot of effort into improving the audio, and going forward I definitely want a lot more video content in the videos as opposed to just PowerPoint style presentations. But I'm away from the car at the moment, so I don't have an abundance of video, but I did get a little bit to show here today. First update on the car, it's back on the road. What that means here in Ireland is essentially that it's past the NCT and the car is taxed. The NCT, for those watching from abroad, is essentially a health check that you have to do in a car once a year, and in theory it's illegal for you to drive the car if you don't have a valid NCT. So yep, past the NCT, everything's very tight on the car, past everything with wide margins. The emissions, because of the new catalytic converter, were excellent. So very happy to be back on the road. I haven't done much driving in the car, I must confess, but over the next 2 weeks I plan to take it on a bit of a road trip down to the south of Ireland, down to Waterford, and hopefully get some footage of that. Since my last video, one thing I've learned about the car is actually it has a C60 6-speed gearbox, which it should not have. It would have been fitted with a 5-speed C56 gearbox from factory. I'm very happy to have the 6-speed, considering it wasn't an option on these SS1 Gen 7 Jap imports. So I guess the gearbox must have been retrofitted at some stage in its life. I have had another car, I had an E11 Corolla a few years ago that I converted to a C60. So someone else has obviously done the same conversion on this car. The car has much tighter up through the revs, and also the fuel economy for motorway driving is a bit better. Big work that I want to really share here today is that I've worked a lot on the bodywork of the car to bring it to a better point. So basically what I've done is I shampooed the car with Autoglem car shampoo. Then I use Pulse Detarring, which is a cheap can that essentially you get in a motor factors for about €5. Next, I Claybar the car using a Maguire's kit. They do a specialist Claybar kit that has some lubrication fluid, the clay itself, and a few helpful instructions. It took me about 5 hours to Claybar the whole car, but even after that the car looked amazing. After that it was onto the T-cutting. So I just used the original T-cut compound. I've used it in the past, it's brilliant. And rather than doing it by hand, I have a little rotary polisher. It's a 3000 RPM polisher, so it's perfect for this type of work. That really made a huge difference to the bodywork. Particularly really brought back the rear spoiler, which was quite badly UV damaged, and the front bonnet as well was a little bit UV damaged in the sense that it was a different colour than the front wings and the front bumpers. It's not perfect, but it's blended in quite nicely. I used turtle wax then finally just to polish the car once more and kind of UV protect the new T-cut finish and kind of make the nice compound effect last a little bit longer. So I guess I'll let the results speak for themselves. I'm super happy with the way the car has turned out. As I mentioned in the last video, the car does have a bodywork condition of 9 out of 10, and there's future work that I have planned for it, but that I can get a 10 out of 10, but the car just looks really, really good. Very happy with it. Other work that I've done, I've tidied up the engine bay. Didn't need a whole lot, but it was just, hadn't ever gotten a bit of TLC, so you can see here in this photo, the right hand side I've completed on the underside of the bonnet. The left I had to do, just use some WD-40 and a damp cloth just to get rid of some dust. I mentioned in the previous video the boot trim was in a state. It was horrifically resprayed in the past, and although the chrome was original, it looked desperate. Basically what I did with this is I sanded it back to using 500 grit sandpaper, and essentially I just used a plastic primer, which is acrylic primer, and built that up. White coats, I used maybe about 5 or 6 coats and got it to a point where I couldn't really see any yellow anymore. Next then, in my local auto factors, I had the colour code of the car matched up, and I got a spray can and a touch-up pen made. So using the spray can, I was able to do 4 layers of yellow, and to get a colour that really matched the original car was amazing. It looked really good even before it was lacquered. So then the next step was to actually just do the lacquer coat. I was fairly generous in the layers of lacquering. I've done painting before, and I know we all want to avoid orange peel, but I did use more rather than less of the lacquer. There is some light orange peel on there, but I mean, it's not noticeable, and it's such a small body part. It's fine. I'd say it came out 9.5 out of 10, so I'm very happy. The end result, you can see there, really nice. It works very well. The next thing I did on the car was more a safety issue, and I thought it was hilarious that the NCT missed this, but most of the seat bolts weren't bolted down correctly. The previous owner, somewhere along the line, changed the interior. There was all sorts of missing nuts and bolts, so essentially I stripped out the whole interior, front seats, center console, and went to Toyota, bought all the proper bolts, and had to unfortunately re-thread some of the holes, I guess, where the bolts were just forced in. Thankfully that's all done now, as well as looking great. Now the car is safe and functional, and if it turns over onto its roof, which I hope it never will, that the driver and passengers will be safe and secure. While I had the seat rails out, I sanded them back and just painted them gloss black. I'm not sure if I have any pictures of the end result, but essentially this is what they looked like originally. Horribly rusty, and once they were painted, just another thing neatened up on the interior. A point that did leave this car down a little bit was the rear parcel shelf. I think in the last video I mentioned that someone had put 6x9 subs into the rear parcel shelf, and it just looked desperate, so I went ahead and got one from a guy breaking a car on Facebook Marketplace. I think it was 40 quid, and just put it in a whole new shelf, and it looks so much better. As you can see here in the video, I did do some more debadging. There was that matte black VVTi badge, which wasn't original. I'm a stickler for originality. It didn't do anything for the car, got rid of it. I finally got the rear wheel nuts loosened as well. I couldn't get the rear wheels off the car. Took it to my local tyre shop guy. He did it for free, which was really nice. Took him maybe about 10 minutes of work. The tail lights were a little bit dull, and they're the sought after facelift style lights, so I just gave them a little bit of attention. I removed them, cleaned. There was a lot of dirt and grime trapped around the inside of the light lens. Cleaned also the bodywork, where the lights actually sit. You know, all that moisture and mud and stuff could lead to rust down the road, so cleaned it all off and dried it and put the lights back in. Another small touch that I did that I really liked, it was one of my favourite things I did in this car. It was a really easy job. The rear registration plate holder was kind of like a dealership that's out of business now, and it just did nothing for the car, particularly the light grey silver finish. So I sanded that back using, I think, 300 grit sandpaper, primered it, painted it gloss black, and then lacquered it, and it just looks so much better. I know some people like to put Jap plates on these, on the front and the back, and being a Japanese import, like, I can legally do that in Ireland, but I quite like the look of the plates. I think they sit nicely in it. Another small job that I did, I used Autosol and a Brillo pad, and I just polished up the rear exhaust, which was just looked brown and black and hideous, and it was nice to bring out the stainless steel finish that the exhaust has. Another nice little job I did on the car was I got new wiper blades, front and back. I got Bosch ones, I think, in my local auto factors for about 25 quid for 3 wiper blades, so that was pretty good. I sprayed the wiper arms gloss black as well, in places where there was a little bit of surface rust and discoloration, so they look super now. So I've done a lot of shopping for the car, and I'm excited to share with you what I purchased for it. I'll do videos on fitting some of these parts in the future, but essentially I bought an SS2 steering wheel. This is like the full leather steering wheel that most Celicas come with. So I'll do a video on fitting that. I've done that before in the past. I also bought a strut brace. Not necessary, but I got it at a price that was too good to pass down secondhand. So seen it pop up on eBay, bought it, and I'll do a video on fitting those as well. It's an easy job. I've also bought a set of facelift fog lights for the car. Being an SS1, the car didn't come with fog lights. Aesthetically, it makes the car look a bit better, and it's always nice to have a nice set of LED fog lights. So I'll probably put a nice yellow LED in there, or possibly just like a 5000K white LED type bulb in there. I have got the relay kit from China, and Toyota wanted €89 for the relay, and I got it from China for like €11, so that's a big success. I fitted these before in the past and they're usually trivial, so fingers crossed this is the same. I've also bought the switch on the indicator stock, which will allow me to, flick on and off the fog lights in an OEM style. So essentially that's where the car is at. It's on the road, it's driving, very happy with it. Going to get lots more footage with the car and some tutorials and how-tos for the Gen 7. I'll create those as I go. Future plans really for the car. I want to remove the front bumper and refit it. You can see in this photo here that kind of the front lower bumper, the grille is out of place on it, and I have 4 new bolts to put in there, and I just want to neaten that all up. While the bumper's off, as I mentioned earlier, I'll add the fog lights and wire them in. I'll fit the strut brace, attach the new SS2 steering wheel. Another thing that I want to look at is the boot is a little bit rattly. I think it's where the parcel shelf is just hitting off the plastics in the boot. It's fairly well documented online where I need to put some little rubber stickers and things just to stop plastic and metal hitting each other. One thing I learned while compounding the car is that the wing mirrors are just too faded to be salvaged at this point in terms of paintwork finish. So I actually want to take those off, sand them back and respray them back up like I did the boot trim. So I will do a video on that. The next item after that then probably would be just to take a look at the subframe. Like I mentioned in the part 1 video, there's no rust on it. I essentially just want to do some rust prevention, probably using Hammerite or some similar underbody sealing product. It's in really good nick and I want to keep it that way. That'll be something I'll do. I'll probably make a video on that too. So essentially that's where the car is at. Really happy with it. Its project is really moving along nicely. It's been enjoyable to work on, and now that it has the NCT and I know the engine is perfect and gearbox and brakes, all that good stuff, I can kind of start looking at more fun jobs and aesthetic jobs and get the car to a point where I want it. So please do like, comment, subscribe, do all those things that people on YouTube tell you to do. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys again on HobTech Cars.